Tulsa, 1921, the day America burned Black Wall Street. History is filled with stories of resilience, ambition, and triumph, but it also hides moments of unspeakable horror. One of the darkest chapters in American history took place in 1921 in a booming neighborhood called Greenwood, Tulsa. It was also known as the Black Wall Street, a place where Black excellence thrived against all odds. But in a single day and night, that entire world was burned down to the ground by a white mob. Hundreds were killed, thousands were left homeless, and the American government stayed silent for decades. What led to this explosion of violence? How could such devastation happen on American soil? And why is this event still not widely taught in schools today? Welcome to Under the Radar History, where we learn about lesser known parts of human history. Today, we are diving deep into the story of the Tulsa Race Massacre, an act so brutal its ashes still smolder in the pages of forgotten history. The story begins in the early 1900s in the oil-rich city of Tulsa, Oklahoma. Just across the railroad tracks from downtown, a thriving Black community took root. It was called Greenwood, a self-sustaining neighborhood filled with doctors, lawyers, teachers, and business owners. At a time when segregation was law and racism was the norm, Greenwood stood out. It had luxury shops, 2 movie theaters, a hospital, and its own newspapers. Money circulated within the Black community up to 100 times before it left. It was a symbol of Black independence in America's racially segregated history. The success of Greenwood wasn't just unusual, it was revolutionary. In May of 1921, a 19-year-old Black shoe shiner named Dick Rowland entered an elevator in a downtown building. Inside was Sarah Page, a 17-year-old white elevator operator. What happened next is unclear. Some say he tripped and accidentally touched her. Others claim nothing actually happened at all. But by the next day, newspapers published inflammatory headlines using racist language to describe the incident, instantly painting Rowland as a threat. It was all the white residents of Tulsa needed to hear. Rumors spread, the hate group, the Ku Klux Klan, stirred. Armed mobs gathered outside of the courthouse where Rowland was being held. Fearing a lynching, a group of Black World War I veterans, many of them armed, arrived to protect him. A shot was fired, then chaos erupted. In the early hours of June 1st, white mobs surged into Greenwood. What followed next was not a riot, it was a full-scale assault. Black homes were looted and set on fire. Businesses were torched. Residents were shot in the streets. Survivors described planes flying overhead, dropping firebombs on American civilians. Some called it the first aerial attack on U.S. soil. Firefighters were turned away at gunpoint. Police deputized white men and gave them weapons. And then the National Guard arrived, but instead of protecting the Black community, they arrested them by the thousands and placed them in. The official death toll was 36, but historians and witnesses say the number was likely over 300. Mass graves have since been discovered, hidden for nearly a century. Over 1,200 homes were destroyed. Nearly 10,000 Black residents were left homeless. The insurance companies refused to pay any damages, calling the destruction a riot, not an act of war. No one was ever held accountable. And for decades, America said nothing. The massacre was not taught in schools, newspapers were silent, records were buried. Survivors were told to forget. Of course they didn't. Despite the trauma, some Greenwood residents returned. They rebuilt their businesses brick by brick with no help from the government. Their determination echoed through the generations. In 1996, a commission was formed to investigate this massacre. Survivors came forward, many at this time in their 90s, sharing stories they had never spoken about. Their voices cracked, not from age, but from decades of silence. In 2021, the centennial of the massacre, the whole world finally began to pay attention. President Biden visited Tulsa, the first sitting president to do so. But for the families of the victims, symbolic gestures aren't enough. They want justice, they want reparations, and they want the truth to be taught. The Tulsa Race Massacre wasn't just about one neighborhood. It was about what Black prosperity represented. It was a warning shot to every Black community in America. Don't get too successful, don't rise too high. And that fear, that threat, has echoed through redlining, mass incarceration, and systematic inequality for the last century. Remembering Tulsa isn't just about mourning the past. It's about understanding how violence and racism can hide in law, in silence, and forgotten in history books. The people of Greenwood were not just victims, they were builders, dreamers, and pioneers. They created a thriving city within a city against every imaginable obstacle. And though their neighborhood was destroyed, their legacy refuses to burn. The story of the Tulsa Race Massacre is not just Black history, it's American history. And like all history, it must be faced, not burned. So the next time someone tells you that racism is in the past, remember Greenwood. Remember what was lost and what we still must fight to reclaim. What do you think of this story? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more untold history that matters. Thank you for joining us for Under the Radar History.